So basically what we try to do is create groups that they can work together inside of the negotiations, whether that's focused on getting them out into the media or creating colorful actions inside the negotiations and working on different policy areas, and also just building the capacity, training each other, teaching each other new skills, and making sure that they know each other and meet each other, and help to form a movement that's well connected and that carries not just inside the negotiations, but actually that they're working together when they go back home to their home countries.
I was going to ask you that. What happens beyond COP? It's quite easy here in a sense that everybody's here together in the same place, but when they are all over, back in their home countries, all over the place, how does that then work? How do you ensure that those links remain?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we're a generation that uses technology a lot, so a lot of it's through the internet. So we stay well connected. We go and work together throughout the year. It's not just at the COPs anymore that we're working on climate change issues. We're active all the time. We're on Skype and email and Facebook, and then also, of course, we do a lot of work with working on these youth networks back home. So we've created all of these domestic networks that also work on these issues throughout the year. It might not be focused on the climate negotiations, but they're focused on their home legislations, their parliaments, their governments of Congress, and also focused on building communities of young people who are working on climate change at a very local level in their city, in their state, in their province, wherever they're from, all the levels from the very local in their own house all the way up to something as big as the climate negotiations. We're active at all those levels.
I mean, do you think we could at this stage talk about a global youth movement connected in relation to climate change? It's not just a bunch of disparate groups who sometimes meet and sometimes get on Facebook for one another. It is a global movement, would you say, and a growing movement?
Absolutely. I mean, we often call ourselves the International Youth Climate Movement, and that's a way of saying that we are well connected throughout the world. And also, it's definitely true that we're a growing movement. I mean, if you look at the number of young people who were in the climate negotiations in the 1990s, there weren't any really. A couple of university students, and that was about it. And now, so for example, in Copenhagen, we had 1,100 young people from over 110 different countries. In this negotiation in Doha, we have many dozens of organizations and countries represented. We have hundreds and hundreds of young people who are here, all from over the world, all working together on the same issues.
I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, to talk about young people. It's their planet, but in a sense, are we seeing the negotiators, the decision makers, again, in relation to climate change of the future?
Well, we're not seeing as much progress, I think, as our groups want to see on the process. It's moving way too slow. But we're definitely seeing negotiators recognize that this is an issue that our generation is going to have to deal with, that we're sort of the first generation to grow up with having climate change from the moment we were born, and unfortunately probably until we die. That's something that's been really difficult for us to deal with, of course, but that we've been working very hard on. And we see negotiators recognizing that point, even if we don't always see them negotiating in a way that's addressing that.
And what would you like to see at the end of this 2 weeks? How would the youth movement, the youth organisation globally be helped by decisions made here in Doha?
Yeah, obviously we need as much greenhouse gas pollution cuts as possible, much stronger commitments from countries, and of course we need a lot of more money on the table. I mean, in our home countries, we're suffering from the effects of climate change, no matter how wealthy or poor our country is. Much more money on the table, more technology transfer, more support for things like deforestation prevention, and more money for renewable energy, because we want to work in these industries and have jobs in addition to also stopping climate change.